Hi, my name is Jake, and I am a bookish drummer. So for this video, I will be discussing my top unknown books and authors on my TBR. So all of these books I would view as either like unknown authors and or unknown books. Some of these authors are well known for things, but oftentimes I don't really hear anyone talking about these books. Like maybe one person like ever I've seen, but generally these are books that a lot of people frankly don't know, but that I'm excited to try. I haven't read any of these books, so I would love to get to these. And if you have heard of these books, please let me know what you have thought about them, whether you hated them or loved them or whatever, because I'd love to hear somebody's opinion, because generally these books are very well unknown, at least as far as I know. But what do I know? Anyway, that's what the video is. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first author I will mention, he's very popular, and technically he didn't write this book. He wrote some of the book, but he's kind of the main editor for this book and series. And I'll just jump into it. It's Wild Cards, not written by George R. R. Martin, but edited by George R. R. Martin. Very small font, but his name big. But yeah, this is a 80s. It started in the 80s, and it's kind of a weird mashup of like World War II, superheroes, sci-fi, like a bunch of weirdness. And one of the cool things about it is that it's basically kind of stories set in this universe written by different authors of the time. And it's still an ongoing series. I think there's like 30 so books in this series. And it's really funny because George, like on his Twitter, he would be like, oh, we've got a new Wild Cards book coming out. And then everyone kind of assumes that he's writing these books while he's not writing Winds of Winter. So they'll just go on Twitter and be like, stop writing this crap series, write Winds of Winter. Where in reality, he's not writing these books. He's just kind of the main editor for the series. But, you guys know how much I love George, my all-time favorite author. I have not read a book in this series, so I would love to eventually check this book out. And really the only person I hear talk about kind of anything George, he's not really even like a booktuber. Preston Jacobs, he's kind of like in A Song of Ice and Fire booktuber. He talks a lot about the series and the books, and he'll go into George's other stuff. He's the only person I've ever heard like talk about it. But as far as like booktube goes, like our corner of booktube, no one talks about George. Even I don't really talk that much about George, because even though I love it, it would just be me gushing the whole time. So that's not that interesting. But yeah, Wild Cards is definitely a book that I hear not very many people talk about, and I'd love to get to it eventually. Next up, we have a thriller author, I believe, and I hear no one talk about this book, this author. Yeah, I randomly picked this up, picked this up, I think, at Barely Used Books in Canada when I was visiting Stacy when we weren't yet married, and I liked the cover, thought it was kind of cool. And I know nothing about it. I know nothing about this author. You're probably like, get to the point, Jake. That would be The Girl Before by Renee Olson. Kind of a trippy cover, because if you look, it's kind of like circles on the face and kind of a cool cover. And, from what I can tell, it's just like a thriller book that I've never heard of. I've never heard anyone say anything about this book. So please, if you've read any of these books, including this one, comment down below. Let me know if it's worth checking out or if it's really good, really bad. Because, again, I hear nobody talk about this book. I will get to it eventually, but, again, has anyone read this book? Tell me. This next book, I know one booktuber who read this book and liked it, and they were the one who convinced me to read the book. Still haven't read it yet, but I will eventually. And that would be Hellwigs Keep by Justin Holly. And the booktuber that recommended this book was Mindy from Mindy's Book Journey. I believe she really liked it. and I haven't gotten to it. I think it's kind of like a self-pub sci-fi horror, and from the sounds of it and the look of it, it looks very creepy and looks very good. So I eventually want to check it out, but again, yeah, I haven't heard. She's the only one that I've heard ever mention this author or this book. I really do want to check it out though, because it's got a cool cover, it's got a cool concept, kind of a sci-fi horror mystery, I believe. So yeah, I eventually want to check it out. But I hear basically no one talk about it except her. And kind of the same thing, I know one person who I believe at least knows of this book's existence. I think she read this book. I'm talking about my good pal, Josephina. She actually sent me this book for either my birthday or Christmas. Hold on. Yeah, for my birthday. Thank you, Josephina. Again, I still haven't read this book, and it's a book that I have a hard time pronouncing, but by Jessica Leonard Antioch. I don't know what this word is, but it looks like a self-pub horror book. I really want to get to it, and I believe she's the only one that that I know of that's heard of this book. I believe she's read it. I don't remember. She must have liked it if she sent me the book. It'd be funny if she sent me a bad book on purpose. But anyway, it's a book. It's a book. I am really excited to check this out. I really don't remember. I'm sure when I first got it, I looked it up, but now I don't really remember what it's about. I do really want to get to it though, because it looks very menacing and very creepy, but also very atmospheric as well. That's the vibe I'm getting. And yeah, I hear basically no one talk about this book, so we got to change that. Next up, we have a book that Ian sent my wife Stacy, because sometimes we like to check out Ian and his wife's online bookshop, and we'll kind of do like a random blind date with the book. They have really good blind date with books, and this was a book that she randomly got. She read it, she enjoyed it, and now I am itching to read it. It's a book that I had never really heard of, and a book that I don't really hear a lot of people talking about, and that would be Aurora by David Koep? Kip? I don't know, but this one sounds really interesting. I know it's kind of like post-apocalyptic, and I forget. I forget. Oh, there's a little note in here. Like I said, it's from Ian and his wife's bookshop, and they do really great blind with the books. It says world cataclysm, lights out, long overdue reckonings, suspenseful. So those are all good buzzwords for me. So I will check this out. But again, I really don't hear anyone talk about this book. If you've read it, let me know, but I'm unaware. Next up, this is a book that I found when me and Stacy went to a church book sale, and like all these paperbacks for like $1. So I randomly picked this book up. Never heard of it. Never heard of this author before. So I'd be very surprised if anyone's read it or have heard of it. It's called Eye Contact by Cammie McGovern. And it just kind of looks like a creepy horror book, creepy thriller book. And it doesn't have the best Goodreads rating, which sometimes works well for me. But basically, I know nobody who has read this or has heard of it. So please, if you know anything about this book or have read it, comment down below. I'm excited to check it out eventually. Don't know when I'll get to it. But again, has anyone read this book, or has anyone ever even heard of this book or author? I don't know. Next up, we have The Plotters by Unsu Kim. I had heard of this book, I think probably just from some list of like, maybe I was looking up like best Asian authors, because I was sure Haruki Murakami would be on the list, but I think I've heard of this book, but I've pretty much heard of nobody talk about this book who has read it. So I don't know. I know it's supposed to be kind of like a, maybe kind of more like an action book, maybe like a thriller. I don't know. I really don't know much about any of these books, really. But I do know it's supposed to be good, at least. But I would love it if anyone has read this book. Please comment down below what your thoughts are. I don't know. I'll check it out eventually. Also, speaking of that church book sale, not bake sale. I almost said bake sale. Church book sale. I got another book there that I had never heard of, and I have never heard anyone say anything about this book. And that would be Whistling Past the Graveyard by Susan Crandall. It's a book that I, read the back of and I liked the premise. Kind of like a historical fiction, which can sometimes be good for me, sometimes not so much. But this one, I like the premise. Again, I hear no one talk about this book. If anyone has read it, please let me know. But yeah, it's one that I'll get to eventually. I know I'm a broken record these past couple of videos, but like I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, has anyone read this book or has anyone heard of this book? This author? Let me know. Now, this author I have read a ton of books from, but that's kind of like his more popular fantasy series. Even if people haven't read that series, a lot of people have probably heard about it because a lot of people just have heard of it. If you're in this kind of fantasy book corner of BookTube, like you've heard of Bradley P. Bulio, author of 12 Kings and Cherokee, Song of Shattered Sands. You've heard me talk about it before, one of my all-time favorite fantasy series. A few other people have read it, or, a lot of people have at least heard of that series. But a lot of people don't know that he had a trilogy before that, and it doesn't have the best ratings, and not a lot of people have heard of it or read it. The first book in the trilogy is The Winds of Kokovo, and I plan on reading this in October, and I plan on reading the whole trilogy, as long as it's good. I'm hoping it's good. But yeah, a lot of people just have not heard of this. I know a lot of people have heard of the author, probably some of y'all from me, because I love Song of Shattered Sands so much, but I am interested to check this out, and hopefully it's kind of an underrated gem, and hopefully, if it's good, I'll try to get it out there to read this, but we'll see. This next one, I believe I've only heard one booktuber, Alan from Library of Alexandria. I'm sure that's the only one. I think he read this book and really enjoyed it, and I probably picked it up just from his recommendation alone and just haven't gotten to it yet, but it's called Empire of Exiles by Aaron M. Evans. The first book in maybe a trilogy or series, I don't know, but the way that he described it was very intriguing, and reading the back of it, I was very intrigued, and he's really the only one I've ever heard say anything about this book, positive or negative. And again, if you've read this book, let me know, because Alan, I know he really liked it. I don't know anyone else's opinion or if anyone else has read this book. So please let me know. And again, with all these books, I will get to it eventually. And hopefully it's the start of a brand new favorite fantasy series. And I do have one more honorable mention. All of these books I have not read, but this one I read when I was in middle school and really enjoyed it. And I eventually want to do a reread of it and actually kind of read all of the series for the first time, because I didn't actually finish the series when I was younger. But let's just get into it. It's Pendragon, the first book being The Merchant of Death, and the author is DJ McHale. I devoured these books in middle school. I read, I believe, the first 5 books, at least the first 4, but maybe the first 5 books in middle school. Really enjoyed them. And there's a 10-book series, and I never went back and finished the whole thing. So now I want to see if these hold up. I think they will. I mean, they're kind of middle grade YA books a little bit, so they're probably not on par with like A Song of Ice and Fire. But I think it'll be a fun time. It'll just be very nostalgic for me. So I eventually want to go back and check it out. The only booktuber that I know has read these books is Ian the Reader. And even then, like, I don't really think he talks about these books a lot. Like, me and him have talked, we've talked about them, but I don't think we've ever made content about this. I don't hear anyone else saying anything about Pendragon. If you've read Pendragon before, or more importantly, if you're interested in buddy reading it with me and Ian, because I think eventually we want to check it out. I know next year we're going to be doing Redwall. I know people know Redwall and have read Redwall. I know people have made videos about Redwall, so like I didn't want to include that in here. But Pendragon, I hear almost nobody talk about, or a lot of people might not even have heard of it. I don't know. But yeah, this is just kind of an honorable mention here, because I have read this book, but it's been such a long time, and I want to go back and revisit it. And not a lot of people talk about it. Not enough, at least. Maybe we'll change that. All right, so those were some authors and books well, mainly books, because some of these authors, like I mentioned, people know, but most of these books, or pretty much all of these books, I rarely hear anyone talk about. Maybe one person, like Alan, like he knew that one book. Josephina knew that one book. Mindy knew Hellwigs Keep, but like generally not a lot of people talk about these books that I've heard of. If you've heard people talk about these books or you yourself know anything about these books, whether you loved them, you hated them, you're interested in them, let me know and we'll chat about it. Also, what are some books on your TBRs, your bookshelves that you're convinced that no one's ever heard of, or at least people don't talk about as much as they should, or they just don't know about it? Comment all of that down below and we'll chat about it. But that's all I've got for you today for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you are subscribed, stay subscribed for more content. I like to try to do videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And every third Thursday of the month, I will be doing an off-topic video. The past one that I just did was my top 10 Pixar movies, which was a lot of fun. And you guys can always leave suggestions for another random off-topic video. Like I said, every third Thursday of the month. And what else? Book Astronomer Discord, where we've got tons of buddy reads and read-alongs happening all the damn time. Patreon down below for if you want to support me there for as little as $1 a month. And my Amazon wishlist if you'd like to buy me a book. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a fantastic day.